cast, and this is the official cast list unless you made some last minute changes because you do that type of thing.
Only for you, buddy. Only for you. Yeah, no, that's
Okay,
it. We got it.
wasn't a certain answer, but sure. Okay, so first, let's have Karina Clay up on stage. Round of applause. Let's have Matt Dingman. Matt, where are you? Don't hide. Come on, it's okay, don't be shy. A lot of love up here. Ashley Kilbride. Please watch the stage. You just won a brand new 1987 Buick Regal. It's nice, it's sky blue. It's a coupe, 2 doors. And of course, Matt Bartolomeo. Let's go.
Meal.
I'm gonna have a seat because I can do that. Yeah, you could do that. I mean, if you pull something, it's not my fault.
Test 1, 2.
You ready for some Q&A action? I hope so. This is really bright. So, exactly. I mean, you know, I like light stuff. I don't want to get any more tan than I am. You know, it's okay to laugh. Just laugh. Come on.
It's all natural.
Come on, tough crowd. Jeez, kids laugh when I say this stuff. Okay. So the first question I'm going to address to the whole cast. So you just answer one at a time, no fighting. You each have a mic. All right? Okay.
They gotta share.
Oh, they got to share?
They gotta share.
Ah, bummer. So, how did you all meet? Tell us about it.
I think we gotta start with Rin and me because we're brother and sister. Rin and I obviously grew up together and made a lot of home movies together as kids with our stuffed animals, and then eventually with our friends. And
We've been creating for 40 years.
yeah. We are approaching our together collectively 40 years.
And then in high school, Matt Newman joined in with us to keep creating, because you guys did a bunch of projects in high school together.
Yeah, it was
Films.
Yeah.
fun. I think, we were probably like 8th or 9th grade when we met, and yeah, it was pretty fun to be able to just make movies instead of write a paper, so.
We had to do
Really enjoyed that.
Matt and I first met, and the first thing we had to do was a high ropes course thing. And I was always scared to death of heights, and this guy was like, come on, man, we got it. He was always, just like Gary, we got it, let's do this thing. And I remember being on this high ropes course with him, trying to cut myself up to be as cool as Matt was. And my legs started shaking like hysterically because I was so scared of the thing. And he walked me through it, man, and that was our introduction. And then, yeah, and making high school stuff. And then you and Ashley met each other at Dutchess Community College.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been almost 20, it's over 20 years of friendships that have lasted collectively one way or another, yeah.
That's beautiful.
And then we met at some point, but not even that much longer afterwards.
Yes, we met exactly in 2009.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember a year because I'm like, who is this asshole?
Well,
No, I'm kidding.
I looked at
There are
it.
kids out there. I'm sorry, kids. Kids gone? Kids are gone. Okay. So yeah, like Matt and I met at Best Buy. I was working part-time in the computer department, and you're in home stereo? I don't
I
know.
was all over the place.
You were all over.
They wouldn't get rid of me because they were like, oh, we couldn't hear, we couldn't
They're
hear.
like, we can't fire him. Let's just put him here. So that's basically what it is. Let's have him selling batteries.
Stuck me in the corner somewhere.
Yeah, so we always talked about films and stuff like that, and just, you know, it only took like almost 20 years. to
Reconnect and actually realize that
Yeah,
people share
exactly.
the
It's like, hey, you like
same
movies?
interest.
I like movies. Let's like movies together. Fun. Next question. What made you all, and this is everyone, want to work on this film?
So, my friend called me up and he was like, hey, I'm making a movie and I kind of wrote this role for you. And I was like, hey, I don't act. So, but I was also conveniently recently returned from Iraq and unemployed. So I went and moved in with Matt for like 2 months and we made a movie. So it was awesome.
I think I was pretty much a shoo-in. He's making a movie, there's a part for me. and a lot of the background stuff. If he's on film, I'm probably behind the camera directing, because I know his shorthand, exactly what he wanted, so whatever he needed, I was there.
Yes. What was the question?
The question was, what made you want to be in this film?
Well, he had asked.
She didn't want to be in it.
I was moving to LA in like 3 days, and he had said, oh, one of the actresses, something with whatever. And he's like, can you fill in? And I was like, sure. And
A little bit more than a fill-in.
yeah, I got the script that day and would read the lines before they would shoot it. Yeah.
What had happened is I had a passion, it was a passion project. We spoke about this in a previous Q&A, that I had when I was a teenager, that I wanted to make this movie. And life happens and things happen, and you ultimately decide, well, I want to make this somehow. And it went from high school into college. Dana Wakeman was a writing professor that I had that really kind of guided me in writing the screenplay. And I wanted to make a big movie. You know, Quentin Tarantino had done it before he was 40, Ridley Scott had done it at 40, low budget, and I wanted to be one of those guys, George Romero and so forth. And I really wanted to, having grown up with all these guys, wanted to make something with them, but also wanted to make something with established actors or people that wanted to be actors. And so, see you guys. And so, long story short, ultimately I came right back to the people that I had initially wanted to be in the movie, which was these guys. And luckily, everybody said yes to a project that had many, many stops and turns along the way and ultimately became what it was. And it was just, but the real reason I wanted to make the movie was to have an evening like this, where we could just have an awesome night and speak to an audience and have a lot of fun doing it and get a little toasty and, you know, yeah.
FYI, he will be signing t-shirts on the way out, so. Not
It'll
actual.
be your t-shirt.
He doesn't have t-shirts, so basically you show your t-shirt.
It'll be Willis's
And he
t-shirt.
sign it. It's not my t-shirt, no. No, really? That's nice. And plus also, if you remember his answer, he basically said, I was in college in my 20s, but I thought, by my 40s, I'm gonna make a film. Just remember that.
Yeah, nobody ever knows when the movie's gonna be done. but
That's called goals. Okay.
Some are a little slower than others.
So let's talk, let me ask you this. So why don't you tell us about developing the project, you know, from the paper to filming to screen? Like, let's talk about that.
So, in a very short, condensed version of that, I had an idea as a teenager that developed into my 20s, and then thought, well, I have a screenplay that Dana, my professor, had helped me write at Dutchess. Like, it was assignment for a 15-page treatment. She said, no, you're writing the whole thing. I want you to write this. This is interesting to her. I want you to write everything. So I did, and then I had no money. I had no connections in Hollywood whatsoever, and many years later I kind of do, but not to what other people would have. So I said, all right, I need to get a good script together in order to get it to a place like this. So script first. Once I had the script, then I said, okay, I need a location. And so the owners of the Millerton Inn, which at that point were Jay and Marty Reynolds, they opened their doors to us. I just basically walked in and they said, we love the idea. You have January till April to shoot as long as you want. Come in anytime, we'd love to have you here. No money down, nothing. It was just out of pure love of the project. And so, long story short, assembling our cast, said, guys, we're basically open door to live here, do whatever we want. Come on in, we're gonna film this movie in Millerton, New York. And they fed us occasionally. If they didn't, we had to go to McDonald's when it was here.
Irving Farm.
Irving Farm, we went to Irving Farm when we had money, which was never. And after that, they said bye. I basically spent the next 15 years working on it. or 12, something like that, working on the movie.
And I think there was a lot of things you had wanted for the movie, you just didn't have the editing capability or.
That came later.
Yeah, so as that developed and he was kind of in that world, that media world, and that's when he kind of added more of the stuff that he'd always planned for the movie. So as that developed and he could add that in more, that's something that he always wanted from the beginning. So he kind of had it all planned out, but until it caught up for us.
Yeah, early on when we shot the movie, we shot using high-def cameras. Early on when high-def was becoming available to prosumer level. And this was like 2008, 7, something like that, whatever it is. And I saw a test, I saw George Lucas's, a couple of his Star Wars movies in theaters, and then Michael Mann made a film called The Insider? No, it was the other one. It was Miami Vice. And he shot it using the Viper, Sony Viper's camera, in high def. So projecting that onto a theater, I realized that the equipment we were using could be projected in a theater. So technical aspects aside, I knew we were in good shape there. But it was a learning process from day one to 30 weeks ago. Learning about After Effects, learning about Final Cut, learning about audio cleanup, learning about all the aspects of what it is to make a movie. The surround sound for tonight, to get that mix.
A lot of the aerial shots that you had planned and written into the original screenplay, there was no way you could have done that.
No, we didn't have drones back then,
You
so that
filmed
was
that.
filmed later on.
In the past few years, you had done a lot of the drone footage.
Yeah, I worked on a movie called Rally Caps, which starred Judd Hirsch and Amy Smart. I was the second unit director. And because of my work with that, they hired me back to do their drone photography, to do pickup shots on that. And as a process, learned how to use a drone. It was all, again, learning the craft. Yeah.
So, everyone, I want you to take a moment to realize, I mean, I don't know about you, but I've never watched a movie that was filmed across the street from the theater I'm watching it in. So I just want you to realize that's pretty damn awesome. I mean, you gotta admit that. So you filmed it across the street, Millerton Inn. What are some of the best memories you have of filming literally right across the street? Because there's stories apparently.
Yeah, I mean, the first and foremost thing was just, like Matt said, the kindness
Yeah.
of Jay and Marty. Like, they literally turned the place over to 3 or 4 20-something-year-olds.
Came with the little adoptables.
And they were just like, yeah, you have access to everywhere,
Free reign.
free reign all day, and it was just, it became a home. And like driving in, I just kind of sat back in the parking lot for like 10 minutes and just stared. I haven't been back here since. I'm not far, but like it brought back a lot of memories. It was such a fun time.
I think you're right. Just to act out this movie with the biggest playground, with people that you love, you care about. You're creating something that you don't know if it's going to go anywhere. But we were there from like 9 a.m. till 9 at night filming stuff, and just so they're just super kind.
Yeah. Their kindness, their generosity was incredible. Amongst a long list of people who
Yeah.
it wouldn't have been possible without, they're pretty near the top.
Yeah.
I don't know where else we would have done this.
No, I was thinking of doing it at the cabin where my parents live. You know, it just, everything, the thing about this movie that was unique is everything sort of fell into place. And it wasn't like we had to beg for it or anything. We just, the power of just communication to each other and kindness. And kindness is the number one thing, I think, in all this, is that, we're just, generosity and kindness, just asking and just getting the feedback that we needed for it. But we just put together a 20-minute blooper reel, footage I had not seen since we shot it. I'll probably put it on my YouTube channel for everybody to see, but it was amazing just to, if you want to see how funny it was, just watch that blooper reel.
All right, Ashley, this question's for you. So you filmed your scenes basically a year after principal photography wrapped. So, what is your take on the role? And another question, how has your acting journey, like how has it been since having this role?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it was very fast, and I was asked if I could come in the next day, so I really didn't have a take on the character, because it happened so fast. But now, after almost like 20 years looking back, it's interesting to see the character and like her journey. But don't judge me, because that was the first time I ever acted on film. And I was thrown into it.
I want to interject real quick. So we shot the entire movie with another actress. We heard that? No cell phones. It's alive. It's oh.
It's the work phone.
We
folks.
shot
She
an
doesn't
entire
care.
version of this movie without Ashley. We had another actress who was here, and she was Sonia. She played Ava's sister, and ultimately in the movie. She played Jane's character, the character of Jane. And to a point when she wasn't available and had to go to Florida, we had an unfinished movie. Ashley came in at a very short time frame to finish the movie, and that was a result of that. And you know, I thought it was incredible work for somebody who had, like we said, none of us had ever acted before. But then your journey took off immediately after filming.
Yeah, I spent 16 years in LA in the industry and learned so much, and I just feel like I'm a different person and actor, so no judging.
No, she has done a lot of work with a lot of celebrities over the years. Worked with Chuck Lorre on his shows, Big Bang Theory show, 3.5 Men, or 2.5 Men that he did, you know. So she's 3.5 Men, whatever.
It's a spin-off.
You know, it's another one coming out. But no, Ashley, you look her up, she's done a lot of incredible work, and, you know, to have her in our movie is pretty awesome. And the time she was given was,
All right. Korea, it's your turn.
you're up.
Scary voice. So you portrayed Linda. What was your process in becoming Linda? And also, what does she represent in your mind?
For me, Linda, I felt like, well, the first thing I have to say, when he completed the first time, because he's changed the ending a few times, but the final one that he wanted to release, I said to him, bro, why did you do Linda so dirty? I feel like she got done dirty. But I really feel like Linda has an emotional pulse on the movie, like with the audience. I feel like she ushers a lot of the emotional connection to the audience along. And I really felt like she had kind of this like weak personality, not a lot of courage, not a lot of bravery. And then throughout her journey, you see her kind of standing up more, figuring out answers with Ian. And that dynamic is also something that I felt like without Ian, you couldn't have Linda's role. So I really felt like they supported each other. And I feel like that kind of pulls Linda into this kind of more courage and bravery where she's figuring things out, helping out more, kind of taking the lead in the investigation of the dream. So I feel like she ushers a lot of that along, and also kind of that character arc of, you know, kind of finding herself and her strength as a woman in that way. And I was proud of her, so I don't like that he did her dirty. But I do feel like her story's not over and she has more to do. And I identified a lot with her. I really enjoyed Linda and her arc and how far she came.
All the characters have, when I was writing these characters, they all had specific points where they help each other in positive ways and also in some cases negative ways. And as a writer, you're looking for moments that, anytime a character dies, any writers out there will tell you the same thing. When you're killing off a character, you get emotionally connected to the characters. And in this case, I'm writing scenes where I'm killing my characters, but I'm killing my friends, right? I know we had to film this stuff. But I had to look for a through way of why that was happening. What was the justification? And in the death of Linda, Rin's character, it's a reaction to what she did for Gary. In this case, she's saving Gary from his pain, but she's doing it in a way that is a sin, and she has to ultimately pay for that sin.
Yeah, I feel like in that kind of way where her and Ian kind of boosted each other
Yeah.
forward and figuring stuff out. Gary and Linda kind of have a
Their
more,
connection, to some degree, but.
yeah, Cantanker's kind of a more
Yeah.
difficult relationship, but in the end, I feel like they kind of have a symbiotic something between them, where his end is kind of, it gets her to the dream to break through in a way,
Yeah.
but without Gary, I don't know if she would have found a lot of that courage and strength. So I feel like they rely off each other and, you know, in different ways, their relationships.
So let's talk about Gary for a second. Matt, you played Gary, and you become somewhat of an audience favorite, even though I think law enforcement are a bit different. How much of the character was written on the page, and how much did you bring to the table? So basically, how much of that was you in there, which will probably alarm some folks? You get what I'm saying? There's a microscope on you right now. Answer carefully.
No, she stayed home with the kids. So Gary was a collaboration.
Yeah.
Like, there was a direction on paper. Like, listen, you're kind of gonna be an ass.
Kind of.
Well, I kind of am. So we can do that, but I also feel like, I don't know, Gary was fun. He's just a little misguided in his fun, but he enjoyed himself. He was a young, 20-something young man. But he's kind of one of those, you're an ass, but you're our ass. So we'll take you.
An accepted ass.
It was,
Pretty much.
yeah, I mean, Matt and I often hung out when we were all going to college back and forth in Albany. And our mutual friend Skylar, seeing the two of them when we go to bars or whatever it is, I'd see the dynamic of these two and how we'd all be just sitting there at a sports bar and just seeing the banter back and forth. And I saw a sort of smug, like, you said it once to me, is that you wrote what was it, a miler, kind of like a combination of the two, and I think that's true, but Matt really took and brought so much to his character that I ultimately gave him writing credit, because all of his ad-libs were added, you know, and he really, just like all these guys, created their characters in very incredible ways that, as a writer, you just dream that would happen, and that's part of the collaboration, you know, really.
Just so you know, there's a hotline you can call and get a $500 reward if you feel the need to do that. I can't tell you what to do, but times are tough, and $500 is $500. Sorry. Okay. So for all of you, Dream took over a decade to make. I think it's safe to say, but it was worth the wait. I think we all can agree with that. What were the most challenging aspects of making this film?
Well, just for me, I was thrown into it. Didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And had to learn something. But then when I went to LA, that's what you have to do on set, so it kind of worked out.
Yeah, Morgan, first off, I'm Matt. I was in a movie with you. Nice to meet you.
They never actually filmed a scene together, by the way. It was all through the magic of editing.
The way you filled into something that was like half on screen, half not, and you just took it and made it yours. Like, it was 2 days. It's really freaking impressive, okay? I just want to say, I know you might feel like, oh, that's so immature and young of me, and like that was amazing. So hats off to you and Matt for putting that together and editing everything. Like, yeah, I just met her.
Tonight, literally. Honestly, I think.
I think a lot of the challenging stuff I noticed watching you and going through the process with you also is after the editing stuff, like when he spoke about the first Jane that we had, a lot of the audio was so bad that we couldn't recover it. He couldn't do anything about that, and that's, you know, a lot of that is why. But that was really difficult. After was a lot of the voiceover work, and like I said, he had planned for a lot of like the aerial shots and a lot of the snowstorm and stuff, there's just no way he could do that until it.
No
yeah.
snow when we filmed.
Yeah, it wasn't even snowing, I think that was like one of the winters that we had no snow and he had planned for this. So that was hard after, not having, I feel like what you needed to finish in the editing and the voiceovers, that was hard.
Yeah, the biggest challenge ultimately was trying to find the rhythm of the movie, because, like I said, we had several versions over the years of this movie, and trying to find what's the through line, what's the message, what's the, how do we fit this, how do we craft this movie together? I've said this to a couple other people, and this can apply to anything in life, but filmmaking is kind of like a puzzle that you have, and you're sitting in your living room with a glass of wine, you're finishing this puzzle. You can't find 7 pieces of the puzzle, right? And so you have to create the puzzle pieces that are missing to fit the movie. And they're never gonna fit because they're not the right pieces. So for me, it was about a decade of trying to figure out what these pieces are that ultimately fits this movie. And I remember one night I was in bed with my wife, and we were maybe a couple months away from the Stissing Center premiere, a couple weeks maybe. And I was like, I don't know this movie needs something. And it hit me, it needs a villain. The movie for years didn't have a villain. And so
Unseen, you wanted something tangible.
I needed something that glued everything together, because the dream itself wasn't enough. And so we called our mutual friend Jen, and I was like, hey, do you want to play this crazy villain? Where we're taking away everything that's wonderful about you, and we're stripping you down to this evil 1910s silent era beauty queen that is just white and black, that's it, there's nothing in between. Oh, and you're gonna have fingernails that are frozen, and we're gonna shoot this in the winter, because that's the only time we got. You up for it? And she's like, when do we shoot? Which is, again, that same story of collaboration. And also, the character that plays my wife is my wife in real life. Waiting for that particular moment to happen in life, to put in the movie, was another just sort of one of those personal touches. So, yeah.
Last question, and remember, $500 reward.
We're gonna give you your cell number.
The number is no. Do you have a number?
555.
For all of you, this is pretty kind of self-explanatory. What advice would you give anyone that wants to just get into film? They're like looking from the outside, like, I want to do this. Seems crazy, but yeah, I'm that type of crazy. I want that. What do you tell them?
I think there's so much of like what you plan and what you think isn't always gonna be, what am I trying to say?
Just go with it.
Yeah, just go with it, kind of just trust it'll work out. You don't have to stick, I think, so hard to exactly what you started with. It can grow into something else, you can find different characters and patterns to make a better story in the end, so kind of be open. Don't lock yourself so hard into one thought, one concept, one outcome, So I think just kind of go with it.
Yeah, I mean, just the first step is, if you want to do it, just do it. Write something down. It doesn't have to be everything. Yep. The characters in this movie are very different than the characters that were written. You could read the script that I got back in 2006, 2007, and probably not know it was for this movie.
Right.
Like, everything adapts, everything changes. Don't get worn down that it's not done yet, it's not anything. If you have a vision for it, just go, because, like, honestly, Matt, you've been chasing this thing for 20 years, and I've seen it on the big screen twice. It's been amazing.
It's real.
One problem, you never told me you'd show my pores in 4K, so we're gonna talk after, but other than that, like, just go for it. Have fun. Don't get bogged down by anything. Be adaptable and enjoy it, because it is really fun.
I would say to surround yourself with really good friends because this industry is really hard and you're gonna need good people around you, whether you're an actor and you get an audition last minute and you're like, hey, can you come over and help me put this, audition on tape even though it's 10 o'clock at night, you're gonna need good people because there are a lot of downs in this in this industry. So just surround yourself with really good people. That's, I think, the key to it all.
Yeah. No, it's
You
so,
need support.
and none of this would have happened if people hadn't said yes to this crazy idea, because you have no idea when it's gonna stop, right? And for me, it was 20, almost not 20 years, but it feels like it. Whether you're writing a movie or a book, or whether you're running a business, you do have to surround yourself around people that you can depend on, that are truer than blue. Like our world is divided, our world is whatever and whatnot. I can tell you right now, this movie is filled with people that are on all walks of life, whether it's political, religious, you name it. Like none of us have any of those sort of boundaries that we have with each other. We just are really just forget all that. When it comes to just a collaborative effort, whether it's a business or whatever, you can find great people even if you don't agree with them. And sometimes it's worth spending time with them. You have no idea what can come out of it. We're at a movie theater in Millerton we were across the street an hour or two ago, looking out the window years ago, just reminiscing and saying, someday we're gonna play that movie here. And
Yeah, we were talking about that when my brother and I first stood, when we got here, we stood on the porch and we looked and we said, how many times did we see that movie theater and go, wouldn't it be so cool if someday, that's the goal, to get it, but
here we
just to
are.
actually be, it's surreal.
Yeah. And it's just as a result of just collaborating, not cutting yourself off from people and because you don't agree with them or whatever, whatever the case might be. It's reaching out, emailing, phone calling, you name it. And these are the kind of things that can happen in life. So that's my take on it.
That's a pretty decent take.
Let's give a round of applause for Kat. As the co-bride, Matt, Damien, Curly, and Clay. Thank you to MovieHouse. Thank you. Thank all of you for coming out and not streaming, like this was available to stream anyway.
Does anybody in the audience actually have any questions before we?
Yes, do you have questions? And before you ask, yes, I'm a Scorpio, thanks. Yeah.
It was eerie seeing the Reynolds. I was friends with them, and she passed away some years ago.
I wanted to point that out, that Marty actually passed away, was it 2010 or 14?
I'm not sure. I'd seen her on Facebook. It was her birthday. I called up Jay, and she died 2 years ago.
We lost touch with them because they sold the inn, I think, back in 2010 or something like that. And Number 9 bought it, and they owned it for, the people that owned Number 9, as it was called, ran it, and now it's Millerton Inn. We lost touch with them, we lost touch with the chef in the movie, whose real name is Michael Myers.
I know Michael. I ate there.
Oh, he was a
I had a store in Millerton, Saperstein's.
Yes.
Oh,
Well, hello. Hi. I missed that.
They never, Jay and Martha, never told us about this. Were they supposed to keep it like a secret?
Now we know what it was, is we never finished it in the time frame of her life and also when they owned the bed and breakfast, because at some, the intent was to try to finish the movie, get it into festivals, and then, bring them along, but they had at that point sold what was Simmons Way Inn, and had left for, I believe, Florida, and retired.
Yeah, South Carolina.
South Carolina, yeah. So, at that point, we had lost touch with them. That was, again, probably 2010, 11, I can't remember when it was exactly.
I used to play, have a poker group, and Jay played with us for a few years.
Yeah. Yeah, we missed them.
Any other questions from the audience?
Yeah, if you ever make another movie, let us know about it so we can set in for a sideshow or something like that. I'll sit on a bleacher and watch Riley's cap too, I don't care.
If you're willing, he will write you a role,
For you?
as
I'll
Matt
write you.
knows.
There will be a sequel to Jake's, what we call Coconuts.
There you go. Oh,
Right
look
now.
out, these are gonna be coming looking for you soon.
I'm not even gonna say anything, because you cut it out. There actually was a line in the credits where I said, Easter's just around the corner, but he cut it out because we're all good people, and I said the B word in it.
That'd be nice
I
too.
was in character, what are you gonna do? The streets were calling.
I have a question. How did you do the filming with all the scenes with the blizzard and the snow? You said there was no snow when
Correct.
you were filming it, so how was that done?
So in our early cut, you're right, we didn't have much of the snow. It was all inside the bed and breakfast, and it was alluded that there was a snowstorm. And I said, one way or another, we've got to have snow in this movie. So literally anytime, my wife will tell you this, anytime it would snow outside, I'd be out there outside filming it. And you're right, since we didn't have the cast available, Matt had moved, Ashley was in LA, Rin had moved, Sean who played Ian, he had moved, everybody pretty much moved away. I didn't have a cast to call up and be like, it's snowing, come over to my house. Like, it was just impossible. So we relied heavily on visual effects, using After Effects. It's a program made by Adobe. And I had to rotoscope scenes that we had shot for something else to put Matt's character into a scene that I could film easily in the snow. So all the snow shots with me were filmed live together with the snow coming down. Anytime you see me outside in the snow with Matt, he's from 15 years ago, rotoscoped into the shot. And I had to look for 20 hours of footage to find footage of him reacting a certain way that I could morph back into the movie.
Wow.
So it was a lot of visual effects learning to make that happen.
I could, also, if you saw the raw footage of them together at the beginning, they're just kind of going like this and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
So he then used to put that in after, but that's what I was referring to earlier. We didn't
Yeah,
really have
yeah.
that technology, you didn't have that editing capability at the
Yeah.
time. So once that came available and I saw the footage when he did put it in the snow, it's like, wow, it really does look like there was a bush.
Trick of the trade. Douglas Trumbull, the visual effects legend for films like Blade Runner and so forth, he pointed out a great thing in interviews where he would shoot all of his visual effects in a super high resolution format and then bring it down to the same resolution of whatever the film was going to be. In the case of Blade Runner, for example, they had to do a lot of visual passes on the visual effects. So they shot all their visual effects in a super high resolution. We did the same for our movie, because when you go and you try to you do it in a high resolution, but then shrink it back down, suddenly those matte lines that they call, where it's like a black line around the character because of visual effects and so forth, they're not as noticeable in lower resolution. In this case, going from 8K to 4K. Yeah. Very technical there for you, sorry.
Any other questions? Don't be shy. We're all family here. Yes, you, sir.
Oh,
So the visual effects were amazing, especially when I just found out that you two never met. But one question that I had was, there's the scene where Nora is reaching out with her hand and saying, you know, take my hand. And then what happened? Did she just go like this? Is it just goofing? And-
No?
She's right behind you. She can answer that.
no, so what we were trying to convey is the whole movie is about longing for Phil and his wife to reunite, right? And so we get to that point where they're about to reunite, and boom, they lose it. So what happens is he goes to grab her, he slips. So it's hard to convey that in a visual effects world without getting every single shot. You might have to update that, I don't know. But anyway, so the idea is he falls, slips from the ice, and goes down. And here's this moment where they're about to connect with each other after all they've been through. You know, her death, his being brought into this underground world and everything, and now suddenly they're just ripped from each other. Physically, literally ripped from each other. You know, it's a metaphor for life in that in life we are here for a very short time and are ripped from this earth, right? And we're ripped from our loved ones. Our loved ones are ripped from us. and there's nothing we can do about it. And that's really why that scene exists, is a personal statement for me saying, like, you know, life doesn't happen the way you want it to. It doesn't go the way you want it to. And you have to find a way to rise from that and continue. And that's really the idea behind that scene, yeah.
Does the movie explain what happened to Nora in real life?
It's alluded. You see that obviously there's a scene where she's laying on a bed, completely, you know, frozen. He's trying to wake her up and he's crying, and we see that he's stopping at a gravesite and
Right.
mourning her loss, which is actually my father's gravesite that we used for the movie. Is again just a little personal touch in the movie, but it's alluded. It never really fully explains what happened to her. So your imagination is better than mine telling you. Yeah.
Well, it's a great job.
Thank you, everybody.
You should really go somewhere.
Any other questions before we wrap it up? Okay, I just hear
They
crickets.
should get like,
No, I think no.
Drinks at Willow.
to sponsor it.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for spending your evening with us. Get home safely.